everybody.
Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good evening, all.
Is there anyone there?
Who's joining us for a nice cold one of these?
A Pepsi?
Yeah. Why
That's a
not?
departure from you.
Wet the whistle.
There we go. My little notification that Contacting Blood is live. So it's
I'm gonna watch that.
official.
Is that your missus joining, Mark? Is it?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
You all right there, Mike?
I don't know what's
No.
You're looking beside yourself or on your side at least.
What is happening?
So we've got a few people joined so far as usual. If you would want to
Get
say hello
involved.
in the comments so we can see who's joined, and we'll get going very shortly.
So what's been spinning today, gents?
Well, I have been on my Halloween kick,
Nice.
so I've just been giving that a spin. So no, I'm undecided yet. Not a favourite of the Darcy that I've just been picking up on.
How are you finding the newer stuff?
I like it. I've had rabbits for a bit. I got off Mike. I know what's up with Mike. He's jumping in and out. And Master of the Rings, I quite like, but that
That's a
one,
good
I think I like it. It's just first listen, same as the others actually. They took a couple of listens to get into. So we've got Peter,
Peter.
Peter.
Good evening, Peter.
we've got Liam,
Oh, and Liam. How do?
James.
Hello, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks for
Evening,
joining
James.
us.
Look you through it.
Metal Angel. Good evening.
Steve.
Zulu.
The Zulu. Evening, Stevie. David F. David. Good evening.
We've also got Mike. Hi, Mike.
I'm back.
Oh, Mike's finally back.
Has anything
There we
happened?
go.
You've missed it. Bye.
No, we were just trying to big you up, trying to big the screen up, but you disappeared.
Has anyone arrived? I know I'm late, but has anyone else watching?
Yeah, we've got 16 on so far. So I think it's
Hello, everybody, and thanks for watching. Hello, Steve.
I think we should get to the main event.
yes, we should.
Right. Good
So-
evening, Jay.
So we got a special guest on here today, and you all know who that is because of the title of the video. So should we bring it in, chaps? Do you think he's ready for this?
He's ready.
That was
Welcome,
a
Darcy.
rubbish drum roll. Darcy.
Hey, boys.
Welcome to Contacting Blood.
That's enough.
It's Darcy.
How's everybody
Well,
doing?
Good. What have you been up to, Darcy?
Cheers.
What are you
Good,
drinking?
Darcy.
A little Canadian combination here. Bud Light and Clamato juice. Called
What?
it Chillado.
Clamato juice.
What's clamato
Clamato.
juice?
Sounds a bit like chlamydia. Is it anything
Yeah, I
to
was
do with
gonna say.
chlamydia?
No.
Tastes
No,
a bit
No,
funky.
next VCLT I send you, I'm going to throw a can in there.
No additives.
No.
Oh, good. How you doing, guys? Whoever's coming in?
Oh, hey, Matt.
Evening, all.
I might put some glasses on. Everyone seems a bit far away. To hell with the image.
See,
So
and
Darcy,
I'm the
plan
right
is to
person.
play-
When I get on here, the glasses are off.
All right.
I can't see anything. I can't even see anything.
You look so intellectual like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Keep them on.
So the plan today, Darcy, is that we're gonna probe you a little and get to know you a little bit better. And
Well, when you guys asked me to do this, I was totally excited and honestly, I'm honored. I just feel like I've known you guys forever, like years. I'm talking 10 years. Like it just feels like I saw you yesterday. You know what I mean?
How long have you been on YouTube now?
Little over 2 years.
2 years.
Little over.
You came on, yeah, you started, was it just before Christmas one year?
No, it was the summer of 2008 or 2018.
All right.
So what was the tipping point for you? Why did you decide to start a channel?
You know what? In my life, I live in a city of about 12,000 people. A smaller city in Saskatchewan here in Canada. And I almost feel like I'm the only one in my city that listens to metal. That's how I feel. I know it's probably not true, but really nobody in my personal life to talk to about music. And that's kind of why I wanted to jump on YouTube. And I had no idea going in what would happen, and all the people all the people I've met, and it has far surpassed any expectation I've ever had. Hey, Matt. Hey, guys. Home and Nickelback. Oh, my God. No.
Oh, how do I know that? I've never have invited you on, Darcy. That's just...
Oh, God.
I'm just cut it out.
They are popular, that's for sure. So anyway, Scott, I just that's why I jumped on YouTube. I needed somebody to talk to about music, because my wife for sure absolutely doesn't care about what I listen to. And
I can completely relate. I don't know if any other guys will like this, but when I grew up, nobody I knew listened to metal. I had when I was at school, you obviously had the different groups. Like you had the rugby players, and you had we call them the moshers. But I was never part really of one specific group. I was just kind of a floater, to try and find a better word. But so I never really had friends.
No, that's the perfect word, Scott. Perfect word. A floater.
Yeah, that's the only one I can really think of. But like I never had like big brothers or a dad that was into metal. So there was nobody really around me to say, oh, this is a good album or that's a good album. I was just kind of on my own. So that's why I was on YouTube, obviously found people making videos, and you're just like, right, these are actually people that I can sit down and talk to something I really love without just sitting in a room yourself just with a pair of headphones on.
Talking about starting YouTube, what's quite nice for me is all four of you around me, you were pretty much the first sort of channels that I started watching when I first got onto. I hadn't been watching videos on YouTube very long before I started making videos, and it's quite nice now that you're friends of mine now, and you were all the people that kind of, as I watched, I thought, I think it's something I'd like to do, and I'm quite amazed really that Darcy has only been doing it probably maybe 6 months longer than I have, because he makes me look like a proper novice. He's you'd think he'd been doing it for years, to be honest, but
he does that to us all.
A question for you, Scott. How long have you been making videos on YouTube, Scott? How long have you been at it?
I'll be 3 years, and I think it's either the end of July or the start of August.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's actually mid-July. I was checking the date the other day, so I think it's 3 years.
Right. Okay. So who's the granddad out of the bunch here?
Cloudy.
Cloudy.
I started in August 2016, so coming up 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just over 5.
Mark, you really touched on something that you're going to be your own biggest critic on here, honestly. But I believe that you're going to be, like I said, you're going to be hardest on yourself on here. But I always look to you guys or other people I watch and say, man, are they ever good? Like, I don't really see myself like that. You know what I mean? I feel like other people out there do a way better job than I do. But, people seem to enjoy, talking about a little bit of metal. And, I believe that whether they do videos or not, they love the interaction too with us and other members. You know, hey Dean.
Dean.
You know, I just feel like they're in the same boat we are, and maybe they don't have a pile of people in their life that want to listen to, you know, especially, you know, on a drive with your family. I mean, it's slim pickings what you're going to listen to. And, you know, I always laugh at that because my wife would never have that in our vehicle going anywhere. So, but I think, yeah, you definitely touched on it, because I just feel like, you know what, I enjoy watching everyone, and I think everybody does a good job. I mean, first of all, it's maybe not as easy as it looks jumping on here, and you know, you actually still get a little nervous here and there. At least I do.
Just to go back to what Scott was saying there, I find that like really like commendable that Scott said there he had nobody in his social circle listening to metal. I was lucky when I did. There was like me and 25 of my friends, and I live in a town where there's about 28,000, and we used to go to the local rock night, and you get, in its heyday, you get a couple of hundred. But in my immediate social circle, I had about 25 people, and I don't know. I couldn't put hand on heart and say like that I would even have been able to do what Scott's done and be totally out there in the cold on my own and have come as far as he has into it. I might have got sidetracked with something else for the social aspect of it and thought, you know, I'll look for some else. I mean, I was lucky in that respect, but I don't know if I would have that in me to like push on my own. You know what I mean? Do I make sense?
Yeah, I was the same as Scott. Growing up in Cardiff, the only one, there was one or two other kids that I knew that I didn't actually like that much, to be honest. They were into metal as well, so I'd swap some stuff with them, but they weren't really my mates. And so I had to discover things through magazines, the one radio show, national radio show we had in the UK at the time. So I didn't like have a heavy metal education. So all the people that, you know, said they grew up and their older brothers showed them like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and that all was old music for me. I wasn't interested. I just wanted the new stuff, and I had no one to tell me where to go. So I kind of made it up as I went along. So I wasn't in one bracket or the other. I wasn't, or I wasn't the glam, or it wasn't the traditional heavy metal. It was literally whatever I found I liked, I bought. And even going to, you know, my first gig on my own, because there was just nobody else. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have got to do anything. But I was so passionate about the music and what I loved. It wasn't really. I'd still go out with. I still have friends and stuff, still go out. But when, you know, clubs and things were just more the social aspect of them rather than liking the music at the places we used to go to. Yeah. And then I found you guys. It took 30 years to find some metal friends, but.
Yours must have been similar to mine, Mark, was it?
Absolutely, it was. Yeah. I mean, there was a few of us at school, and we were listening to music. In fact, funny story, but the first fight I ever got into at school was because someone had thrown my Metallica Master of Puppets tape across the common room, and said something like, "Get this shit off," and threw it across the common room. I was fuming, as you can imagine. But there wasn't a lot of people in my school, but a small circle of friends. And when I left school, we were all, there was probably about half a dozen of us. Bev, evening, Bev. Yeah, there was about half a dozen of us. And we got into sort of metal music that much that we wanted to learn how to play instruments. We wanted to form a band. You know, we got quite heavily into it. And then, you know, you're going out there and you're checking out what bands are playing live, and you go into these new areas around as you're getting older. And I just met more and more people. And I was quite lucky.
Darcy, have you ever tried to take up an instrument?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I did. I played the bass guitar for about, I would say maybe 2 years and kind of gave up on it. I actually got inspired by actually two people, was Gene Simmons and Blackie Lawless, because I absolutely love the BC Rich Warlock bass guitar. And that's what I ended up buying. You know, obviously not I think it was called a C series. And I played bass guitar for about 2 years and just kind of gave up on it. You know, things started, you know, first girlfriend, things like that. And I just lost sight of it. I do regret not keeping up with it. And it's almost something that I've been tempted to, you know, go and buy again. But so yes, to answer your question, I did play bass guitar for a bit.
And then,
See, we're already learning new stuff.
Sorry?
We're already learning new stuff about you. Open up. This is therapy for you.
Yeah.
And
That's why
Metal therapy.
now is
no one else will listen.
What about you, Mark? Did you ever fancy learning an instrument?
Yeah. In fact, I've bought a few guitars, and I'm still giving it a whirl now. Yeah, I'm managing to blag my way along. But it's funny you say that though, because when me and my friends sort of talked about forming a band, and you know, our singer said, well, I think Paul bought a guitar, or he might have bought a bass guitar, and I think, you know, you've either got it or you haven't. I think within the first couple of weeks of picking up an instrument, whatever it is, you've either got that natural rhythm and a natural sort of ear for it, or you haven't. Because our singer, like I say, he picked a guitar up and he practiced for a couple of weeks, and you could just tell there was no coordination. It wasn't going to happen. One of my friends, Lee, he picked up a guitar. He was left-handed, but he picked up a right-handed guitar. Within a couple of hours, he was playing Smoke on the Water, picking up a few things, and you've either got it or you haven't, you know.
Yeah.
And especially Darcy, if you're letting a girl get involved as well, they just spoil everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was, you know, it was just actually I forget what year it was too, but I think right around the 1984 when the Wasp debut album came out, and I forget what video it was for. I think I Want to Be Somebody, I think. And just seeing Blackie Lawless up there with that big black bass guitar and just dominating the stage, I was just like, I got to get one of those. I got to try that.
Mm.
So what got
Blackie
you into
big in the day, wasn't it?
you into listening to rock and metal in the first place, Darcy? You know, you say that, is it?
Okay. You know, I know you guys have heard this story, but some people haven't. I think it was around Christmas 1978, and my auntie bought me this on vinyl. I don't have that original copy. I mean, that's long gone. And you know, she was the coolest aunt, and she was just a big kid at heart, and she bought me Kiss Destroyer. And after that, it was that's where it all started for me. Kiss and AC/DC, to be honest with you. Those were my gateway into hard rock, metal. And then something that you guys might not know about me, you know, it's not the only music I ever liked. Shortly after, probably, I would say maybe early 80s, around 80 to 82, you know, I liked all kinds of things. I listened to Tears for Fears, Big Country. I mean, tons of bands, Duran Duran, you know, little bits and pieces of other bands. But I never really went and, you know, bought all their music. I would watch it on Canada's Much Music. And I also had my very first job. I wouldn't even really call it a job. I was, excuse me. I was me and my buddy Barry, we were washing dishes in a nightclub, and we were not of age to be there, but we were able to we could wash dishes, but they played music nonstop. And you know what? They would throw in some metal here and there. You know, you got another thing coming by Judas Priest. They would, you know, You Shook Me All Night Long, you know, tunes like that. And that's really kind of where I got into it. And then it just, you know, snowballed from there.
So you got into it like when you was obviously really young. You know, for me it was, you know, my dad listened to music, so it was always on in the house. But I didn't really sort of pay attention to finding my own music till probably, I mean, I was born in 72 and it was probably 86, 87 before sort of music grabbed hold of me. So, you know, I know you're a similar age to me, but 78, that's, you know, that's, you've got 8 years on me. That's really young age to be turned on to you know, the sort of the image of rock and metal, and you know, that, like you say, that cover of Dynasty, you know, the Kiss, it must have blown you away when you were a young lad like that.
The one thing though, Mark, from 1978 to about 81, I would say late 81, it was only Kiss and only AC/DC as far as hard rock and metal went. That's all I listened to for 3 solid years, really. And then I started, I think it was right around the time when For Those About to Rock came out that I really went searching for more, you know, hearing the first of Judas Priest in 1982. You know, I was thinking the other day, I was not laughing about it, but I was thinking, you know, when I discovered Judas Priest in 82, they already had what, 6 or 7 albums out already. And, you know, Iron Maiden had been, you know, around since 1980. And I mean, of course, a lot of you guys are the same as me. We discovered Priest and Maiden and just kind of went from there, or AC/DC. But you're right, though. I was fairly young, but there was a gap in there where I pretty much listened to everything, you know what I mean? Not just hard rock and metal.
See, that's where I would differ, because obviously I'm 10 to 15 years younger than you guys. So, I mean, I was 14.
You're always quick to point that out, too.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to...
You wouldn't think...
But, I mean, when I was 14 to 15, it was 1999, 2000. So that's when the new metal came out. So I've picked out a couple of things here. So, like this. This is one of my kind of first... Yeah, it is a good album. That was kind of my first kind of introduction to proper like metal, because that kind of blew up when that came out. Like Papa Roach were huge when that first came out, with like Last Resort. And so that was kind of the era. Like I came in when like Papa Roach were coming out, Slipknot were just coming out. So that was my kind of first taste. But at the same time, I liked it, but it wasn't really pulling me in. The first time like I really got kind of pulled in was like I bought these two on the same day. And I only bought them because they were cheap and they were at the till when I was out shopping with my mum. And I thought, I'm just going to grab them and see what they're like. And then I got them home and I thought, holy shit. I was like, this is amazing. And then it was only a couple of years after that I picked up this. And that basically did it for me. I listened to Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue, and that was me just completely dragged in. And that's when I thought, okay, I like the new stuff, but I'm now going to have to go all the way back, because that's where it is for me. When it came to, like, I picked up like stuff like rap, because I wanted to pick up things that were associated with Motley Crue. So I thought I'll pick up greatest hits. So I picked up that. I picked up this. I mean, this is scratched to shit now, but I still kept it because it was one of like the first albums I bought when I was kind of discovering hard rock and metal. So, and then that led me to like stuff like that as well, Cinderella Night Songs. So it's funny how I kind of like bands as well, like Dragon Force. Like I loved Dragon Force when I first found them, and then I had to go all the way back to the 80s, and that's where I really found the sweet spot. Yeah. It's been quite a journey.
I was going to say, you know, Mike talking about it being admirable, the fact that when you were getting into metal and you were confronted with new metal, which is a really difficult genre anyway. For you to go hunting out the likes of Slippery When Wet, and what's funny about that is, excuse me, you know, like you say, you're 15 years this younger. Slippery When Wet, especially for the likes of probably Mike and Cloudy and maybe Darcy, that was a huge entry album for us, for our generation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the one thing. You know, Kiss, Crazy Night, Slippery When Wet, White Snake, 1987. They were gateway albums for my generation, and it's good to see you with all that new metal bullshit that was going around. You know, that you sort out. Actually, I quite like this heavy stuff, but I want to know what the proper heavy, you know, the proper rock and metal is like. So that's a double kudos to you, Scott.
Yeah, I'm doing well.
It's funny though, because you were saying that you got into it in the 90s and you wanted to go back and seek out what all the, you know, the stuff that 10 years older was all about. And I was the opposite. What I was getting, maybe it's because when I was getting into it, you know, heavy metal was in its heyday in the 80s, so it wasn't the equivalent of sort of getting into it when new metal was around. I didn't want to delve back in because delving back in was like going into music that was before I was, you know, when I was a toddler, you know, before I was born. So things like Black Sabbath, let's say Deep Purple, Rainbow to some degree. These were bands I just thought were, you know, they were has-beens. I didn't want to. I mean, I even saw Dio, my first ever gig at the Monsters of Rock, and I kind of shunned it because I just thought this old fella. And I kind of really cringe now when I think back at, you know, I'm kind of glad I could say, yeah, I saw Dio live, brilliant. But I was way at the back of the festival. I just remember this wee small figure in the distance. But I got to see him, but I didn't appreciate it at the time because I was had my head up my arse about the fact that, you know, metal was this 80s thing and it didn't exist before. And I'm only, and there's a lot of 70s stuff now that I'm only really getting to appreciate now, I guess.
I was the same. I was the same as you, Andy. It was old man's dinosaur stuff, not remotely interested. But like you said, we came in at the heyday. You came in a couple of years earlier than me. But I mean, the thing is, when you come into it in 1986, why would you want to look elsewhere and say, "Oh, what have I missed?" It was just colossal. You were getting bombarded month in, month out by releases that were still all worship 30 odd years on.
Yeah.
So, you know, you didn't want to look anywhere else. You didn't need to, did you?
No, not at all.
I think, honestly, 1983 to even 1989 were probably 6 of the best years in metal ever. Maybe not 89, but 88 for sure. 83 to 88 was unreal. And if you look back at some of those albums, which we all have, and, you know, and watching a guy like Scott, who's a lot younger than I am, you know, even his last update, I was smiling the whole way through. I'm like, yes, those are awesome pickups. And, but you know what? It all turned for me in 1984 when I saw this concert. I went to Great White opened up for Judas Priest in 1984. I would consider that my first real big concert. Went to a couple smaller shows, you know, before that, but being there, it was like I was on another planet. I was literally watching Rob Halford in front of me, and I couldn't believe even where I was, you know. And I probably didn't sleep the day before it. I probably didn't sleep the day after it. I was just in awe. And so I would say 1984, and we talked about this on some videos before. What was your big year, your big turning point? And 84 was definitely my biggest impact year, you would say, and kind of shaped things to come. And the other thing I was going to touch on is, no matter, you know, how long we've been listening to music, there's still so much out there. It's really, you're never going to run out of music, so don't worry about that. You know, I tried I tried a little bit of Korn or whatever, and you know, didn't really stick. I was never into Pearl Jam Nirvana maybe a little wee bit, but I was never into the grunge scene at all. You know, and I don't consider like a band like Alice in Chains. I don't really think they're grunge. You know, just because they came from Seattle, whatever. But I tried other bands like what was the band you showed there? Papa Roach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I seen them live, fantastic. I've seen bands like Pop Evil, but I've never really, nothing's really stuck with me. Maybe a little bit of Korn. I'm not really a big Slipknot fan. I just not, I guess.
Yeah, throughout that whole 90s 2000 period, I wasn't into metal at all. There's a few old favorites I would dip back into, but my life had changed. I moved to a different city, got a whole different set of friends, going to different sort of music. And I was really into more of, it was still sort of guitar led music, but it was the British indie rock scene that was going on at the time. And it wasn't until probably 10 or 12 years ago that when I moved up to Edinburgh, and again found myself in a situation where I was starting from scratch in terms of not knowing anybody locally and not having any friends to go out with initially. And I just started listening to metal again. So it seems to be my my comfort when I have nobody around me. A bit of a sob story there, but you know, metal it's always made me feel great. So I started dipping into all the old stuff, and then I started dipping into some new stuff. It was actually A Matter of Life and Death by Iron Maiden that really got me back into it. I saw it in a shop we have in the UK called FOP, and it was £5, and it'd been out for about a year or so, cheap. I picked it up, just thought, I wonder if these guys have still got it, and totally fell in love with metal again, and just started going with bottle.
Yeah.
So it's with you for life, I think.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Do you enjoy the music, the songs?
Or do you just like the music and the art on the album?
I love the videos.
Music videos seem to be more important in the late 80s, early 90s, because it was kind of the only chance you got to see the people performing, or you know, they were on television, and that's what you wanted. And whereas now you can just type something into YouTube and catch people all the time. But back then, videos were quite entertaining, and stuff like Headbangers Ball and Power Hour and stuff like that was like, yeah, I enjoyed videos, but I don't think they're vital anymore. I don't think we add anything. I think they're probably, to most bands now, a video is an unnecessary expense that they can do without.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, because I mean, we obviously know the game has changed over the past even 20 years. These guys are not making money on like, I mean, a video, that is a huge expense, and there's no record companies backing them up as much as they were back in the 80s. And you know, the visual thing back in the 80s, that's what worked. I mean, nowadays we see lyrical videos all the time, and I mean, those are probably fairly simple to produce and at a lower cost for sure. But I don't think going balls out on a video is gonna sell your product. I mean, you yourself have to sell your product, and I just think, like Mike said, unnecessary expense. Yeah, it's nice to see these bands do them here and there, but lots of them will just incorporate live footage that they have, or you know, things like that.
Well, I was just going to touch on that. I prefer the live footage videos than I do any other video. If I'm looking for a video, if I see, although it's the studio track behind it, if you get a studio track with the live footage, I think that works superbly. And I wish more bands would do that, because it must be the cheapest way. If you're going to make a video, it must be the cheapest way to do it. So,
actually, you know what? You guys were talking about Celtic Frost, and so I went and searched Cherry Orchids, the video. Oh my God. anyways, his mouth doesn't even line up on you know what he's singing. It is just a very low budget, but I was just like, you know, so even back in the 80s, some of those videos were pure cheese.
Yeah, I think with the sort of way social media is now and the technology that we all have, videos aren't an important thing, like you were saying about the lyric videos, and so you know you can find out anything you want to find out. For me, when I was growing up, though, and bands were releasing videos, I can remember "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses and "Girls, Girls, Girls" by Motley Crue. Those videos came out, and it kind of opened up like another world in front of my eyes. You know, I was seeing these videos of Sunset Strip and all these things, and for me that was so much part of the band's image and drew me in, you know. And then you'd see videos of all sorts of bands like, you know, Poison and Skid Row and Bon Jovi, and there were all these huge big stadiums, and the stages were as big as, like, twice as big as the venues that I've ever played at.
Yeah,
you know, and it just made you think, wow, this music's massive, it's huge, there's so much out there, because there was no other way of finding out about the bands. You relied on watching a music video or reading Kerrang or Metal Hammer. You know, nowadays it's completely different.
You know, I'll tell you what music videos actually did to me. You know, the way they're edited, just for instance, when you said Poison there, the Talk Dirty to Me video, or Motley Crue's Wild Side.
Wild Side, yeah.
That's a great video.
So videos like that, right? They're edited together, aren't they? 1 minute you see the guitarist, and then the next minute you see the singer and all that, and it's all and the young me. For some reason, I didn't think too much about it, but when I first started to go to live shows, I had an expectation I didn't even understand that I had, and when it didn't play out like a video live, I was kind of disappointed, because the live performance, although I enjoyed it, didn't match up with the professionalism of a video, and I had to rethink what I wanted from a concert. And it was, you know, it was like, whoa, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah, why is he not throwing his guitar around his neck many times as he's playing?
Now, Mark, you say that. Why did he throw us out? But so my first gig, mentioned this a few times. Monsters of Rock, 1987.
Yeah.
Cinderella, the opening band, the first band I ever saw live. They did that, throwing the guitars. And there's two guys. They did it in together as well, sort of coordinated. So they did that. So they can do that live. So you just went to the wrong shows and saw the wrong bands.
Did you say that was Cinderella?
That was Cinderella, yeah.
Yeah.
So did John not do that, Mark? Did you not?
Yeah, I know for a fact if I did that, it would probably kill the drummer.
I guess the stage was a bit bigger.
Yeah, just lights crashing down on top of you.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, another funny story talking about those stages. We played a gig once in Liverpool, and the stage was that small that when I only turned my guitar a little bit to the left, and I managed to hit my tuning pegs on the head of my guitar right on the edge of one of Chris's cymbals. So it turned my guitar out of tune. That's how close to the drums we were. There was none of this dancing around, flinging our guitars around. So you're talking about live music and your gig there, Darcy. What was it like? You know, where you come from for seeing live bands? Were you relying on the big venues, or did you have some smaller clubs that you and your friends, I suppose you're growing up with, could go to see little live bands?
Well, the city I lived in was about 45,000 people, and there wasn't much for live venues. There's nightclubs and a few what we call bars here, bar and grill, whatever, something like that. But we would only get we would get very few. And I've mentioned the band Helix or Kick-Axe, Haywire. Bands like that would play locally, but you would have to still travel at least about an hour to the bigger, the big arena shows. That's where I would have to travel. Or, you were talking about Motley Crue. I got to go to the Girls tour in 1987, but I had to travel 9 hours by car to get to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and it was a bunch of kids back then. We took my dad's old van, 1978 shit box of a van. We filled it with beer and we went to the show. And but we had to travel 9 hours to get to the Motley Crue Whitesnake concert. So locally, not much, to answer your question. Like I know Helix is big in Canada, and you guys some of you have since discovered this band. They would play probably once every couple of years in my city, but we would also have to just, like I said, bigger shows. Actually, I cut out I still have some flyers from shows that I went to back in the day. I mean, here's an old show. This is Cinderella and Slaughter.
Big him up, Andy. Big him up.
Maybe Andy will make you a little bit bigger if he wakes up.
Here's one show. This is
God, I was part of it.
Cinderella and Slaughter back in. So that would have been Heartbreak Station tour, and then I always cut things out like this: Iron Maiden and Anthrax on the No Prayer.
Wow, that would have been
No Prayer for the Road.
Wow.
So that would have been 1990 for that one.
Yeah.
I always, I wish I would have kept all my magazines. That's one regret I have, is not keeping all those Hit Parader, Circus, Metal Edge. Krang was an import for us. We had to pay top dollar for Krang. And then that one magazine that you guys show, I don't know if it ever made here. Mike, you were showing me what, Iron Fist? No, is that newer?
That's new.
What was your other big magazine? Metal Hammer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never ever really saw much from Metal Hammer. Like I said, Krang was like an import. You had to go, and I always remember the Krang magazine was a little bit bigger than our normal magazines here in Canada. Like, did you guys have Metal Edge?
No.
That magazine?
No, not into that.
That was my go-to one. I think Circus was my least, the one I liked least. Hit Parader was a good one, but we had a magazine called Metal Edge, and that's the one I looked forward to because it always had the release dates of albums. I mean, that's how you got your information back then. There was obviously no internet and stuff, and that's how I got all my information and much music.
So when do you think you actually
started? Go on, sorry, Scott.
I was just going to ask, when do you think you actually started to really collect music? Like, obviously, most of us, or most people, collect a CD here and there if they hear something. Maybe not nowadays, but back then, you pick up a CD. Like, when did you really think to yourself, I'm a collector? When did you think you looked at your CD racks or your record collection and thought, I've got a lot of stuff here?
Well, for me, like I mentioned before, 1984 was huge. I would spend all my money on cassettes. I had those cassette boxes that would hold 50 or 75 or whatever they held, and they were full. Like every Kiss album, every AC/DC, everything on cassette. So I probably collected cassettes all the way till, if I remember correctly, right around when the Black album came out for Metallica. That's kind of when I switched over to CD. And then I went and kind of bought pretty much everything. I mean, there's still, I probably still have about 30 or 40 cassettes that I really want to get on CD, and I will eventually. There's no rush, but I've been a collector basically all my life. I mean, there's there's other things that I've collected. I mean, here in Canada, hockey's big. I collected hockey cards. I have I don't want to say thousands of dollars worth of hockey cards, but I have a lot, and some very collectible stuff that's put away in the safe or whatever you want to say. But I've always been that type of a collector. I'm kind of I don't know, you'd maybe call me an all or nothing type of person to a certain degree. I really don't like half-assing anything, to be honest with you. And maybe that's something you don't know about me. But so to answer your question, Scott, I mean, 1984, it was nonstop until about 1996. Things really started to slow down. That's when my oldest son was born. And honestly, there was no money for extra things for, years, 12, 14 years. I had to really scale back and only kind of pick and choose what I was able to buy. I always got the new Megadeth release, or the main things I would stick to. And that's where there's a really big gap, was a big gap in my collection. And, bands passed me by because kind of life happened at, 1996. Then my other son came along in 1998. And as you know, I remember, I think it was back in one of my first videos, I said, you had a choice between buying diapers or nappies or whatever you call them, Mark, diapers and milk or CDs or cassettes. So, things changed in that time of my life for sure.
So what do your sons think of your music taste and your collection?
You know what, my sons are very supportive of they encourage me to, why don't you go on YouTube, Dad? Why don't you just try it, see what happens? My youngest son is not in, he's 22 years old. He's not really into metal. He likes other, I don't know what he really likes. I don't know, hip hop or something. I'm not sure. My oldest, though, he's into he's into some metal. He lives pardon?
He likes Billy Talent, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's or A7X or Avenged Sevenfold. What's that other band there? They have a song called Smells Like a Freak Show. What band is that? I don't know. He lives out in Vancouver, so he gets to see quite a few obscure bands. And I mean, if I lived out there in normal circumstances, I don't mean right now during this COVID shit, but under normal circumstances, I mean, I'd probably be at a show every weekend if I lived out in Vancouver. So in Canada, the West Coast and the East, like Toronto, Ontario, that's where they get all the great shows. Where I live, I'm kind of central in Canada, and it's almost like they skip over us. They just, the hell with Saskatchewan, we're going to move on. So,
they can't spell it on the tour posters because it's quite hard. Yeah,
but yes, Mike, my son definitely, he's like you. He really enjoys Billy Talent. I'm not going to say I don't like them, but it's really not my cup of tea. But he sure enjoys it.
What does your wife think of you collecting, or are you one of these that you hear stories about? Some people who buy, they have to make sure the wife's not in when the parcels are arriving, or
No. No, my wife is super supportive, and to be honest with you, she's just glad I have a hobby. Honestly, guys, I look back right now and think over the last couple of years, I'm trying to think of what I would have been doing with my time, my spare time, which isn't a lot of time, what I'd be doing. And I'm just happy to be doing this, to be honest with you. My wife, like I said, she's very supportive. And you know what? If 3 packages arrive on one day, she'd just give me the gears. But she's not giving me shit. She's like I said, she's very supportive. And the one thing that I absolutely, you know, I say that my wife doesn't care about my music. I'm actually happy she doesn't care about my music. I'm gonna say I'm almost selfish when it comes to my collection. I wouldn't want people like my wife or my kids coming and borrowing things from me. I'm very particular. I like things in order. I don't like things coming back all fucked up. And so in that aspect, I am selfish. I like what I like, and I'm almost very protective of it. And you know, I think back to a conversation that Mike and I had over a year ago, and he was telling me, he goes, well, when you're listening to death metal, you want to, you know, put your headphones on, lay in bed, read along with the lyrics. And I'm thinking, you know what, that is the way to go, because I would not want my wife walking in with me cranking Obituary to 11, because I don't know why. I almost feel like I'd be embarrassed for some unknown reason, but I know you guys know the feeling. But I always laugh at that story. And Mike said, "Yeah, just put your headphones on, and you know, then nobody's bugging you." And but you know what I mean, right? I'm sure you do.
I think
I'm right. There's only certain styles you can listen to, sort of when there's someone knocking around, and if I want to try and get into some new, like really heavy stuff, like when I try out like black metal albums and stuff, I have earphones on and I read along with the words and stuff. Otherwise, just putting a black metal album on it's just not going to do it. I need to concentrate. Something like Kiss, I can just put on in the background and do housework, and then at the end I go, oh yeah, I like that album, or I don't like that album. You know what I mean? Some stuff just washes over you. Some albums and some styles you've got to work at. I'm still working on Suffocation's Effigy of the Forgotten. It's just too brutal for me. Let me pick off there. I'm just going to get a refill.
I've got this vision of you cleaning the house dressed in like the full Kiss gear. Platform shoes, cleaning the house.
I think the best thing for me is when albums come in, it's the covers, and my wife just looks at me and goes, "What the fuck is that?" I mean, I got this. I'm not sure this had an update yet, but I got this in and I was opening it when my wife was in the room. It was this. I can see her just looking at the corner of her eye going, "What the?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you think of her?" She's like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's more into she likes pop stuff, she likes R&B, soul kind of stuff. So we are chalk and cheese when it comes to music. So she doesn't get my music at all. I remember one time she came in, I was listening to it's just amazing, Quite Icarus came on, and she was pissed herself with the lyrics. Just because guy flying close to the sun. it was and my kids aren't that into music at all, but she basically they kind of take the piss as well, because their mum does, which annoys the hell out of me. I think, well, one day you push them away, they'll find their own way back. They'll commit to it.
I find my car's the place where I crank my music, but it's my missus. She doesn't mind listening to a bit of, you know, dare I say it, Nickelback, but Metallica, and she'll listen to a bit of that. But she loves all the divas, the Celine Dion's and Whitney Houston's and all that. So
yeah,
when my big thing is when I'm going to work, I get it on in my car. And I have it that loud in my car that the only way that I know my engine is running is the gear sticks wobbling a little bit. That's because I can't, and I've just got to, I go off the feeling of the car. I can't hear anything because I have it as loud as I can. That's the only time. In my little cave here, I do have it on. And weirdly enough, because I've got little boys, babies, I don't tend to put earphones on as much as I used to, because I think there's always a part of me is listening out for a cry of anguish from the other bedroom. But if I put music on in this room, I have to keep it down to a certain level. So the car's the place for me. And another funny thing about like heavy music is people I work with, I'll arrive in the car park and they know I've arrived because they can hear the music. And they're like, how do you listen to that before you do a shift? And they always say, I know you lot relate to this, but the heavier the music for me, the more relaxed I feel afterwards. It's kind of like any frustrations or things that have gone on during the day, that 15-minute journey to work and a bit of aggressive music just calms me right down. And I get to work feeling just, but I'm ready for it now, which a lot of other people don't get. But, another one of the reasons why we're in this community, because knowing that you're speaking to people who completely get what you're talking about and understanding you from that point of view.
I jump in my wife's car and she's got Magic at the Musicals. So it's all musicals in Oklahoma, and they say, and up next it's Phantom of the Opera. It's never Iron Maiden.
It's
always just the musical.
My car has Disney soundtracks in it, so I can sympathise with that. I know all the words to the Aladdin soundtrack and and all the latest ones. So, but you do what you do for your kids.
No, when I'm with my wife or we're traveling somewhere together, I just say put on your Spotify, and I throw on my headphones. I let her drive or whatever, and it just works better that way for me. I don't have Spotify. I wouldn't even know how it worked. And also, like, I touched on this also in a previous video about Sirius XM radio, and I think that's one of the biggest things that actually helped, especially with channels like Aussies, Boneyard, and Hair Nation, and what's the other one? Octane. I don't even know all the channel names, but I think it really got people fired up about music again. But in a way, for me, it kind of ruined some songs. It's just like, I don't want to hear Cinderella, a certain song all the time, every day. And that really, when my kids started getting old enough and I was able to afford more music, I would be like, okay, I need to get this and this and this. I missed out on them because I'm in a way more of a deep cuts type of person. I love the songs that aren't big hits. You know what I mean? Okay, let's take Cinderella Night Songs, for example. I think my favorite song on that album is Push Push.
It's a great song.
Stuff like that, or Poison. Look what the cat dragged in. I mean, I love the song Cry Tough. I just think it's fantastic. It just reminds me, and a lot of it is what we all talk about. It brings back those childhood memories, or your first girlfriend cruising around, wasting a half a tank of gas, and the good old days, right?
Here's a question for everyone. Do you think people care enough about music in 2020 or nowadays for us ever to have an enormous act again? Like, I know you will not probably hear them, but another Nirvana or another Oasis or somebody huge like that. Do you think people are passionate enough in serious numbers globally for that to happen?
No, the closest thing I've seen lately, and the closest thing of a phenomenon is Ghost. I'm not a fan of them. I don't hate them, but I'm just not a fan of their music. But I mean, they have an image but you don't have those type of bands that come along, and a band like Ghost is never going to get as big as Nirvana. Is there going to be ever another Metallica? at that level. And I mean financial gain, things like that. I don't mean the shitty music they've produced over the past 25 years, but I can't see it. To answer your question, Mike,
I think it's music is more accessible these days. So whereas before music would be, and the radio station still force music upon people, and there are bands, I say the word bands, but there are groups, manufactured groups that are put together that still have massive support. I mean, in the UK, things like Little Mix, my daughter loves Little Mix. Absolutely massive. They will sell out arenas everywhere. They will sell out everything because they're manufactured to do that. But I think people now have much more of a choice that if they don't want to listen to what's on the radio, there are a million digital channels out there. They can go and listen to what the hell they want. So I don't think necessarily people are as conditioned as they were to do that. But I think in terms of rock and metal, which is probably, I'm guessing maybe what your question is more linked to, Mike, is I don't know if we will. I don't know if we'll ever have anybody that big again.
No, I think we've definitely lost the era of the rock star. I mean, when you look back to the 80s, I mean, everything was massive. Everything was just bombastic, over the top. I mean, to see a live show, you'd just be in awe. You'd never get anybody coming up through the ranks now that's going to be like that. You're not going to get anybody getting off a plane at the airport and I'm just getting hounded by like crowds of people. You're never going to get that. Because like Andy said, there's so much stuff out there now that you can just go on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. Everyone is just like, there's not a big group of people heading in one direction. It's just every man for themselves is just spreading out and going for whatever they want. So to get somebody to that height again, it would just be, there's no chance.
The musical landscape's different because of, years ago, you were talented, you strive to get a record deal, and the record company pumped that out and promoted you. So you were probably one act of about 100, and you were the lucky one. Now, because of Instagram, social media, the fact that you can record and print your own records, there's so much more spread out, So you've got a lot of bands all doing, fairly decent music, but you've not got anyone sort of that cream rising to the top, have you? Because record companies, they ruled the world. They ruled everything in the the 80s and 90s, and that isn't the case anymore. In fact, Andy showed an album in his last update, Sergeant Thunder Hoof, is it? Something like that.
Sergeant Thunder Hoof.
And they're adamant they're not interested in any kind of record deal. They're doing it by themselves, which is great and it is admirable. But they will always, I suppose, remain fairly underground, So that huge big star, I don't think you will get it again. The easy answer to the question is I don't think you will. No.
You'll see it to certain degrees. I mean, you've heard this saying before: timing is everything. There is certain things that will come along that will. Okay, let's take for example the band Queen. There was a movie years ago for what was it? What movie was that? They had that song Bohemian Rhapsody. Mike, Bill and
Wayne's World.
I forget what movie it was. But I mean,
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World. Okay, so there's one song on Wayne's World, and all of a sudden, not that Queen wasn't relevant, but all of a sudden they're right in the spotlight again. People are buying up their stuff. I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in the U.S. there's a company called Geico. They're an insurance company, and they used Rat, the song Round and Round, and Rat, the version of Rat, the band, in their commercial. And now the song Round and Round is back on the Billboard charts, 30 some years later. It's just like, but I'm just saying sometimes timing, you know what, maybe one band will come along in the next 30 years that rises way above. In rock and metal, I don't know who it could be. I mean, it just feels so watered down with, I mean, I'm just actually in awe sometimes of how many bands there actually are. I mean, I can't keep up.
So Darcy, in terms of from a Canadian perspective, who are the big Canadian bands around at the moment, or are there any upcoming Canadian rock bands that you know of or could recommend? Okay,
well, the big obvious one for me and most of my life since about 1982 is Rush. If you didn't know who Rush was when you were growing up, I mean, even if you didn't even like hard rock, because I wouldn't consider Rush metal, they're progressive hard rock, maybe touch on metal here and there, but everybody knew who Rush was. You know, bands like I always mention Helix, they were Helix. You know, Bryan Adams, he was huge here in Canada, more on the, you know, pop rock side. I love and still love a band like Kick-Axe or the Killer Dwarfs. Who else is Billy Talent? They're from Canada. I'm sure they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's other bands like Headley and what else? Sum 41, stuff like that. I never really got into, but newer Canadian bands, I really enjoy Cauldron, Striker. Now I'm on camera, so I'm going to forget them all. You guys probably know quite a few of them yourself, but well, yeah, well, and of course and then you get into, you know, bands like Razor and Voivod, Exciter. Exciter is a huge one. Those were all bands that I listened to. Hey, Trevor. Those are all bands that I listened to back in the day. But I would say for Canada, I mean, Rush goes synonymous with Canada. I mean, Rush is our biggest, you know, besides if you like Celine Dion, which I don't, but Rush for sure.
So you're lucky because all we've got is the Proclaimers. We'd walk 500.
You've got Glory Hammer as well.
Glory Hammer and Gun.
We've got Biffy Clyro.
Oh yeah, and
I haven't checked out Glory Hammer, so
I've seen Glory Hammer supporting Blind Guardian. They were good.
Yeah, Bev likes Glory Hammer.
What do you think happened to Anvil then, Darcy?
Oh yeah, Anvil. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention Anvil. I mean, Anvil's just kind of, you know, here's Anvil just cruising through life, and you know, that movie, the story of Anvil really gave them a boost in their career, but you know, it never really lasted that, you know. I mean, they still make money at it, but I would say that was one hell of a tough road to take for Anvil. I know in the early days, I mean, people look at the album Metal on Metal as a masterpiece, and I think it is, but there was a lot of bad management in there, and you know, they couldn't get a proper record deal or distribution in the States. You know, a lot of mismanage, and then they kind of just, you know, I love Anvil, but you know, they have some albums that are just, you know, they're just albums. They're just a bunch of songs, and
I agree.
Then they have great songs, but you know what? I commend them for sticking to what they love to do. And you know what? A guy like Lips, he's probably going to be doing it till he can't walk anymore. And you know, kind of like Lemmy, like, you know, look at Lemmy. I mean, the guy basically had to get hauled off the stage on he was dying up there. And you know, that's some of those bands like Anvil, you know, as good as they are, they just never caught that real break.
a few people have been commenting there, and it just shows you how many good bands are from Canada there that you kind of, you don't think about. Even just for me as well, the music I'm into, the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
There's a band called Tomb Mold around at the moment. Really old school death metal, and I'm loving them at the moment. They're brilliant. But being Canadian, I notice you made a point there of not mentioning Nickelback. Does not only are they hated in the world, but do the Canadians hate them as well?
You know what? In 2010, my wife wanted to. She said, she likes it, so that shows you her taste in music. But partly, she goes, "Do you want to go to this Nickelback concert?" And I can't say no all the time, put it that way. Okay. So we went, and the actual show was fantastic. They did a great job. I didn't know, I knew some of the hits or whatever, like How You Remind Me or whatever. But I'm not a fan. I think the only song I really, really, really enjoy from them is the one they wrote about Dimebag. It's called Side of a Bullet. And it's kind of a tribute song to Dimebag from Pantera. And that's probably the only reason I even like that song. I mean, if it was written about one of their friends or whatever, I would care less about it. But anyways, the show was fantastic. And I always say, I don't hate anyone's music or any bands, but if it's not for me, I'll tell you it's not for me.
Somebody's a Nickelback fan.
Yeah, don't worry about the comment. That's my missus. That she loves them.
Oh, okay.
Is that who it is?
So I'm just gonna put it out there, and I'm hoping that Andy doesn't just sort of get rid of me off the screen because Darcy's admitted that. But my missus, she loves Nickelback. I have been to see Nickelback live as well, because like Darcy said, you can't always say no. And yeah, it's not really my music at all, but my girlfriend loves them. I'm going to go. She wants to go and see them. She don't want to go on her own. I'm going to go with her. They were all right. I enjoyed it. It was decent. There was the support band, Seether. They were quite decent as well. But it's if it gets me some brownie points, so I can go to see Flesh Crawl or someone like that in Manchester, then I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think the heaviest concert I got, the heaviest concert I got my wife to go to with me was Rob Zombie opened up for Ozzy Osbourne. So we got to see Ozzy and Rob Zombie on what would be the Black Rain tour, I think. And she enjoyed it because she just couldn't believe that Ozzy was still able to stand up and sing and do what he can do.
Same here.
And she enjoyed it. She
He
really
must be a
enjoyed
hologram now, surely. Is he not a hologram now?
Yeah.
He should be a hologram after that Post Malone malarkey.
Oh yeah. That's
He needs to go on there, doesn't he? Who would you say it's still going, Darcy, that should probably call it a day?
Who's still going that?
That's a great
I'm having Ozzy. He should call it a day.
Who?
I'm saying Ozzy.
I would say that would maybe is the only one. I mean, I don't know. I do commend people for. I don't care what you do in your life as far as work or whatever, but if you get to do something that you love to do at a certain level, mind you, and still be up there doing what you love to do, I don't mind. But I'm kind of glad Kiss is calling it a day, to be honest with you, because as much as I love them, once you stop making new music and become kind of a legacy of yourself, and you know what? Gene Simmons is he's all about the money and making as much as possible. I would rather see them go into the studio, make a great new album that I'll buy and support them, than going to one of these shows that is, you know, it's all about the show. It's not even about the music anymore.
Yeah.
So I would say, sure, I'm glad Kiss is calling it a day, and no discredit to what they've done, because I obviously love them, and they're the band that I even pulled out the old cassettes of, you know, here's 2 live albums that I, you know, absolutely were a huge part of my youth. But I would say, yeah, for Ozzy, for sure, he needs to pack it in.
So, Darcy, a bit of a similar question, but turn the other way around. So, who do you think is still going strong, sort of 30 years on, maybe 40 years on, even? Which of the bands that you enjoyed from back then do you still think are kicking ass now?
Well, after what I consider an absolute masterpiece is Judas Priest, Firepower. Saxon, as much, you know, and Biff is approaching 70 years old. He's absolutely on point. And I think you know, in the thrash aspect of things like Overkill, I mean, honestly, Bobby Blitz looks like he's been through the ringer. Okay, let's face it. I mean, but he's absolutely him and Dee Dee Verney and the whole crew with Overkill absolutely crush it. You know, I was watching the bonus footage on Murder in the Front Row last night. I was watching all the bonus footage, and I forgot how young Death Angel was when they started. I mean, these guys were like coming from school to go play at Ruthie's Inn. And anyways, but Death Angel, I forget they have, you know, they're quite young, so they still got a lot left in the tank as far as I'm concerned. Hey, Frankie. But you know what? I think, honestly, as much as I love Iron Maiden, they're starting to peter out a little bit. And I'm not talking bad about them, but I'm telling you,
I hate to agree. I agree.
Judas Priest and Saxon, at this point right now, as we speak, they're on a bit of another level as versus Iron Maiden. Honestly, the Book of Souls it's nowhere near as good as Thunderbolt or Firepower.
Do you not think though Priest though are a bit they've had that many replacements, and for, you know, good reasons in some case, but you know, they're not.
Can I just interrupt? What is that tapping?
I don't know. That's been doing my head in for ages.
No idea.
Can anyone else hear it?
I can hear it.
Yeah. I can mute people and see where it goes away.
Yeah, you're picking on me.
I wasn't sure if it was just the clicking of the microphone on someone's phone or what. I don't know.
It's kind of gone away, but I haven't muted anybody.
It's only gone away because we've all stopped talking.
Well, I'm going to mute people and see if it still happens. So you're all muted now, apart from me. Is it me? Nope. I might actually keep Scott muted because it's I like it. I don't know. It's somebody. Never mind.
Anyway, I ended up probably shit.
Yeah, I've got to agree with them. I'm really disappointed in the way Iron Maiden are going. To be like so massive back in the day, like really above everyone else, to be putting out what they're putting out now, and I get people do like the Book of Souls, but I think there comes a time where a band's name carries them more than their music, and I think that's what Iron Maiden is doing. I mean, they're not touring. I know they did a Book of Souls tour, but if it was just the Book of Souls, that tour would have been a flop, I reckon. I mean, obviously
No.
they're there to see legends that are Iron Maiden, but I mean, if they put out another album that's like Final Frontier and Book of Souls, then that's going to be 3 pretty damn average albums in a row, I have to say.
Yeah, the one thing that Iron Maiden has on their side is that, well, I mean, Steve Harris, he knows what he's doing business-wise, but Rod Smallwood absolutely knows what he's doing. And I think the key to the Iron Maiden is those cycles of having, Somewhere Back in Time tour, and then doing an album tour, and then they had the Legacy of the Beast tour. I mean, I'd much rather at this point go see a tour like Legacy of the Beast than I would the Book of Souls tour, because I'm going to get more of those songs that I do want to hear. But with that said, Iron Maiden Neck comes out with a 45-minute masterpiece next time. You know what? I might want to go see that. But these hour and 10-minute long albums, not that they're bad, but they're, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I still think, Saxon, I just think Saxon should be honestly held in higher regard than they are. Not that they're, not that they're shit on, but they're as equally as important as those other 2 bands as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they are now.
I listened to an interview Steve had. Was on Eddie Trunk, and Eddie Trunk said to him, "Will you stop, please, putting out these albums? It's like a fortnight long. Just try and do what Priest done with Firepower." And because they absolutely nailed it with that record. And he said, "Will you just put out a 40-minute record?" And Steve Addis said, "You've more chance of us putting out a 45-minute song than a 45-minute album." That's sad.
That's terrible.
Wow. But you got to admit, though, they're a marketing machine. Absolutely. I mean, I haven't even opened this up yet. I got this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do I need it? No, but it's Iron Maiden. I'm buying it. They convinced me I have to buy it. So,
That's where it all began for me. So I love that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And any band that has got their own plane, not just a plane in a video with the name of the band on, but their own plane that the singer fucking flies from country to country.
Did you know that Nico McBrain's a pilot as well?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, as if they've got 2 pilots in the band.
I didn't know.
Is he seriously a pilot? Can he fly those big Boeing?
No, not the big ones. He just does the small.
No, he does small ones, but he's still a pilot.
Yeah. So
Wow. I didn't even know
I
that.
never knew that.
So if they're on
I didn't
tour
know that.
and Bruce Dickinson gets a bit ill and someone says, "Can anybody fly a plane?" the drummer just goes, "Yeah, me, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And
But he can only fly like a biplane, so they just all stood on the top of the wing on the way to the gigs. That'd be good. That'd be impressive, wouldn't it? Iron Maiden wing walking. But yeah, what a band! Just what a band to have their own plane, Iron Maiden, come get Darcy's wallet. Yeah.
Actually, the Book of Souls tour was the first time I saw them live, so I've kind of got a soft spot for it. But the live chapter is probably the worst live Iron Maiden album I've got, and I've got all the official ones. It doesn't sound great. I liked it when I like a live album when it's all from the same show, but Maiden now it's like a compilation album because they record absolutely everything. They just pick the best songs. If that's kind of the best sounding songs of every song on that album, then I don't think it was necessarily the best tour, perhaps, in hindsight that they've done.
This one is very good.
That's a good one.
The documentary of that is really good as well.
I got the documentary, and it's unreal. I always think of looking at, if you watch that documentary, there's a fan in one country. When the show was over, he was absolutely so emotional. He's crying, and you know what? It looked like he never seen anything like that. It was, and I mean, I look at bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest or whatever, you know, what, maybe whatever, Metallica or Megadeth, that has literally impacted your life and maybe got you through some absolutely shit times in your life. And you know, I'm sitting here in my, you know, my music room here in Saskatchewan, Canada, and there's somebody across the world that is doing the same thing I am at the exact same time. Still blows my mind.
Yeah, it's cool.
So is that Live After Death that you just showed there? Is that one of your new purchases there, Darcy?
Oh,
That's the figure, is it?
This is the one with the Eddie figurine in here. I haven't opened it yet. And I picked up.
That's a good live album as well. I do like that.
And this DVD is unreal. I have the DVD from years back, and great show.
Have you got all those box sets now, Darcy? Is that it?
I have all of the ones that have come out so far. That Live After Death just came out like a week ago or something.
Yeah. So, when you're buying, Darcy, do you set yourself like a budget? Do you have a little budget of what you think you're going to spend? You know, because I've noticed in a lot of your updates you've picked up. Obviously, I don't know what they cost, but I can't imagine they're that cheap, to be honest. And when it comes to buying, I'm notorious for not buying brand new releases. I'll always tend to wait for 6 months, maybe 12 months for them to see if they come down in price. You're quite good at picking up brand new releases. So do you have a budget? I remember Mike years ago making a video talking about how to budget for buying. Do you have any strategies?
Not really. Lately I've been relying, like if it's a new release, I will definitely jump on a because of where I live, I am minimum 2 hours away from any record store that is worth going to. So I do use Amazon or eBay a lot. But I will jump on a pre-order to try to get the best price possible. And near about a week before it's released or days before something's released, if the price isn't dropped to a reasonable amount, I'll take it out and I'll wait. But as far as I don't really set a certain amount of money away for buying purchases. Sometimes I buy more than I should, and sometimes I don't buy anything for weeks. So it kind of evens out in the end. And my wife's, she's fine with what I do. I kind of just do what I do, and a lot of my purchases revolve on, as you called me before, I'm kind of the master of the reissue, or whatever you want to say. As far as vinyl goes, I rely on a lot of reissues. And again, where I live, there's not a lot of new original pressings that come out. I'm still not big on buying too many things on Discogs, because I really like to know what I'm getting. I like to know that it's my VG or mint condition is, the bar's up here, and maybe somebody else's bar's way down here. And I just don't want the hassle of getting something sent to me from, across Canada that comes in bad shape, and then I got to deal with it and feel like I've wasted my money. Opposed to Amazon, if something comes banged up, you just phone them and say, give me a new one, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, but I am starting to kind of limit myself to what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to be sure what I'm buying. Like for example, you recommended Gatecreeper, fantastic death metal, and I did my research before I pulled the trigger. So I'm not just buy now, and so I've gotten better at that, because I don't like to waste money, so
I suppose
Yeah,
as well. Oh, sorry, Mark, on you go.
No, I was going to mention about that's your way. You made a good video a while ago, Scott, about collecting and sort of the mistakes you can make as a collector and buying. And you know, a lot of people will buy lots of records. I suppose it's touching on what Darcy said about the condition of them. A lot of people will buy a lot of records that are cheap instead of looking for a more expensive record in better condition. And I think, you know, kind of again, touching on what Darcy was saying, you do become, as a collector, a little bit more selective, don't you? You start thinking, well, it's not all about the quantity, you know, it's about the quality.
yeah.
Yeah, I think when you start off, I mean, compared to you guys, I'm quite new at collecting. I've maybe only been collecting maybe 3.5 or 4 years, and I'm guilty of this at the start. I was grabbing stuff and just grabbing stuff. Oh, that's cheap, I'll grab it. Oh, that's cheap, I'll grab it. You put it on the turntable, and it sounds like absolute shite. And you're like, well, I've just wasted 50 quid on this pile of records when I could have bought maybe 2 or 3 that are really good that I'm going to enjoy. So it's almost, I mean, you feel good because you've bought all these records for a certain amount of money, but then your heart sinks when you stick it on the turntable because it's just, you know, it's crackling and it's popping and skipping, and you're like, well, you're just throwing your money away. And
that's why I feel good when I do shed a load of stuff that I'm not playing, I'm not feeling. I've been guilty of the VC has made me buy things in the past that if I just stopped to think about it for an extra day or two, I probably wouldn't necessarily have bought it. But I've looked on eBay, it's been available, and I've dropped money on it. And then when I have gone back to it and spent time, and then I hate walking in the room and seeing the spine on the shelf, and I think that's got to go. I need that to go. It's doing me head in. And I feel great about shedding anything that I don't love anymore. I'm like, I don't know. I must have sold 400 CDs in the last 12 months, which is like ridiculous that I even bought to sell them.
Unlike Andy, who never sells anything.
I've sold some CDs recently, and it was hard work, and it was stuff honestly I will never play, I will not miss. But God, it was hard to get rid of them. I have to say, I'm getting there. It's funny. There's been a few comments here about how shit Amazon are with packaging, but I think they're pretty good. I've never had a problem, or when I have had a problem, they resolve it really quickly and easily and painlessly.
Honestly, my wife goes crazy because I get one record and it comes in a cardboard record sleeve, plus it comes in a box of the outside. She's like, that's got to go in our bin, you know.
Yeah.
You better jump on that box and flatten that box so it fits in the bucket. So
no, I'd say Amazon's good in Canada overall. I have no complaints, and like I said, if something gets banged up, it's they'll email you a new label and you send it back. And I mean, a couple of years ago though, they would let you keep a damaged item, which sometimes I almost felt bad about keeping, but I'm like, okay, they told me to keep it and they're still going to send me a new one, but they don't do that anymore.
No, they're not so hot on that. It's funny you saying that you don't do Discogs so much either, because I kind of look at Discogs that if I want to buy a second-hand record, I'll trust that more over eBay. eBay, I buy a lot off both eBay and Discogs, and I will tend to go for the things I really want in good condition off Discogs because I kind of trust it better. And they're both backed by the PayPal guarantee, so you can still get your money back if things don't go well. And then eBay, that's the stuff where I'll only tend to buy it if I get the minimum bid in. And if it isn't quite as they expect it, I still think I've got a fairly good deal. Unless it's completely trashed, then again, raise a complaint. But I've bought a lot of stuff off Discogs and rarely had. I had a few duffers, but they've all sorted themselves out in the long run.
mean, the thing is with Discogs as well, you're going to find, I think you find a lot better deals more consistently on Discogs, because sellers on Discogs, I think, they're more in tune.
Yeah,
of,
realistic prices.
they're realistic on their prices. When somebody on eBay, they're just trying to flog it for as much as they can. When on Discogs, people are like, no, this is what it's worth. This is what I'm going to sell it for. Obviously,
absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, with Discogs,
I'm just gonna get a drink. 1 second.
Like you say, with Discogs, you don't see a picture of what you're buying. That's the only downside, and it's probably something they should fix. They should have some sort of photo thing on there. But and I want to touch again on budget. I know, especially like for me, I don't really do anything else. I'm not like a heavy drinker, so I'm not down at the pub every night, or I'm not going on mad holidays all the time. I mean, I'm quite quiet. So, I mean, if I'm putting my money into something like that, it's quite a healthy hobby. So, and it all comes down to, I mean, if you've got it, spend it. If you don't. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, if you're going to go down to the pub and do these mad holidays, maybe buy one record a week. And if you've got nothing else on, or you don't really do anything else, then you've obviously freed up more money for yourself to spend on what you want.
And I think it's difficult if you set yourself right. I'm only going to spend, £50, £100 this month. You don't know what you're going to see. You don't know what new releases are coming out. You don't know. Sometimes you use Marketplace and someone might be selling a job lot of things. I think you're quite right. If you can afford it and you want to buy it,
what's holding you back?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a collection for free, though, wouldn't it? I never see those. It'd be nice to get a collection for free. Asking around, but it always can.
That would be nice. Yeah.
So, Darcy, what are your top 3 Grails that you're looking for, whether on vinyl or CD?
Question.
Hey, Ian. And this, Scott, this will be right up your alley. 2 of my top, let's say, I got a bit of a list here. Sabotage, Hall of the Mountain King, and Gutter Ballet on vinyl. Those are 2 Grails that I would love to have. I have no idea why there hasn't been a reissue on those albums. Definitely looking forward to your ranking also.
Tomorrow.
And don't give anything away yet either, but I'll stay tuned for that.
Not rubbing it in, Darcy.
Oh boy.
Well, the nice thing is, Darcy, is Andy's got Gutter Ballet and Scott's got Hall of the Mountain King, both on vinyl, so they know where you live.
You've won a prize.
But not this one.
And I have something. I'm just waiting for the border to open because I have something here I want to send to Scott for sure. Just wait, I'm going to get it.
Oh, he's going to show me. We're all involved.
This has been more about you, Scott, than Darcy.
I'm going to show Scott's VCLT that I have. I haven't even opened this yet. I've been saving it for him.
Oh, right. Get it in the mail.
Don't buy that. This is coming your way
nice.
soon as I can. It's coming your way.
Absolutely
nice.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Darcy.
Not even open yet.
Superb. Oh,
okay.
What a great,
album
that is.
Superb. That's a great album.
I would love to get Judas Priest, Jugulator, and Demolition on vinyl. I don't even know if there is a vinyl issue of Demolition, but I would love to get Judas Priest, Jugulator on vinyl. That's a grail for me. And Overkill, Years of Decay, still looking for that one. I think Brendan found a copy and I self-admittingly, I am a picky ass. I don't like anything that's too banged up. I don't know, maybe that sounds petty, but I will wait to get what I want. Put it that way.
Yeah, same here. Anyone else got any shouts out at the moment?
Pardon?
Anyone else got any grails that they want to?
I'm after, in order to finish my era collection, I'm after the Old Lady Drivers self-titled album from 1988. And there's a guy selling it for 65 quid on nearest offer, or best offer at the moment. And I offered him the most I've ever offered the record before, and I offered him 40 quid plus post the other day, and he turned it down. And I'm not going any higher than that. It's not even a great album. It's just niggling me that I haven't got it yet. And Napalm Death's Mentally Murdered EP on vinyl, and I put an offer in for that early in the week. I got rejected, and I noticed it just sold for 38 quid. And like, I'm just not paying that for a 12-inch. Just horrendous.
Oh, he's good. He's in. What about you, Scott? What's on your Grails list?
My top Grail will probably be my top Grail forever. But it's Multi-Cruise, self-titled from 1994. That would just be. I mean, I would be happy if I never picked up another record again if I got that. I mean, that's always going to be the top. But I mean, I've been offered it before, but it's just the price. I mean, it's 1994. It's a double album. It's hard to come by, and when you do get offered it, you've got to be in the right. Your bank account's got to be at the right stage when you do get offered it. So,
Scott, do you have a copy of the private? Is it the self-release Too Fast for Love?
No.
And that one that you're saying is higher than having like a first pressing of their first ever album.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because you just can't get it. You just can't get it on vinyl. I mean, I've got the first album on like reissue. I've got the Elektra 82 version, and I've got the reissue. So it's not like I'm short of vinyl to play. And to be honest, with the first press, it's just, I mean, that's colossal money, and it's that rare. It's probably not on my Grail list because it's just not realistic. Do you know what I mean? It's not one of those albums I'll ever probably pick up.
If it's easy to get, it's not a Grail, surely.
Well, I know, but that, I mean, that's way up here. I mean, Motley Crue 94 albums like here, and this one's like way up here. That's just like out of my region. So, I mean, unless I won the lottery and I managed to track it down, then fair enough. But that's probably never going to happen. So, yeah, that'd be my top one. And
you know what? You're talking about Motley Crue. I'm a lot like you guys. I would much rather, I don't know, personally, I would take the original copy of Too Fast for Love released on Elektra Records to match all my other ones. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know Mike is like that. He likes things to match, and I do too. And I got something here that doesn't match that I still laugh at because I did that AC/DC ranking video a while back. And Mike, the only thing he could say to me is, why do you have one reissue and one in a jewel case? And I'm like, is that all you notice, buddy? Like, so I need to fix that so he's not on me. But apart from those AC/DC reissues, I like things to match too. So I would definitely take, that original OG copy on Elektra Records. But well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get Frankie's work schedule, and we'll see if we can break into his house. I know he has a couple copies. So
I know he's got 2 copies. That's just selfish.
He's probably got 4 or 5. He's just not letting us know.
I mean, leave some for the rest of us.
But that I don't care what anybody says. That album is It is heavy. It is good.
It's and you know what?
Fantastic.
Because I was a massive fan of the 80s stuff. I mean, obviously that's where I started with Motley Crue. I just could not process that album for ages. I mean, it took me a good couple of years to go back and properly listen to that album. And you know, when I did, I kind of went in with a bit of a more mature look at it, and it's absolutely awesome, that album.
But you know what? You said the perfect word, mature, because they're the music, the musicianship on there is just amazing. You know, I love all the stuff like Wild Side, Dr. Feelgood. I love all those songs, but there's a less seriousness to those versus, you know, the 94 album. And you know what? Having another singer-songwriter in that band at that time, you know, and like you said too, hey, it was 1994. And, you know, I mean, I always think like if it wasn't for Pantera to come in there and save the day, I mean, where would we be with some of this stuff?
What about you,
Andy? What's your Grail?
Oh, for me, mine is actually not a metal album, but it's a Ramones album, and it's and it's from 1998, so it's probably even harder than 1994, and it's their final concert. We're Out of Here, double LP. Again, ridiculous money, but I would like that. There's a couple of others as well in the Music for Nations catalog that I collect that I'm kind of toning down a bit more, not just buying anything because it's on that label as I used to. Some of it is not very good, but so Merciful Fate, I'm kind of late to. It's kind of a Grail because I know I'll probably never own them because the Merciful Fate releases on Music for Nations are just ridiculous money. But at the end of the day, am I that big a fan of Merciful Fate? No, I'm not, to be honest. And maybe the most accessible Grail probably would be Exciter, Violence and Force on Music Relations label again.
Yeah.
But that'll be me. So what about you, Mark? Let's do a full house.
Oh well, yeah. There's a few sort of the underground death metal and thrash metal ones that just seem to command huge amounts of money. There's one by a band called Gormant, an Ending Quest, and an OG press of that. You're looking at £300 or £400 just for the CD. It's outrageous. No, and it's not because it's expensive, but you know, for me at the moment, and it's because I've been buying a bit more vinyl. I would love to get Forbidden Evil by Forbidden on vinyl and on cassette. I've got it on CD, OG press, but one of my favourite albums of all time.
Good luck on vinyl.
I know. I'd love to get that on vinyl and the original Under One Flag cassette as well. That's kind of the one that I do keep my eye out. But my want list just gets bigger and bigger. It's that's because
you keep rubbing it.
Being in this. Well, is the camera angle too low?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Stop rubbing your want list.
So Mike's had enough. He's gone.
Yeah, I've offended him.
He's got to rub his want list. He wants his to get bigger as well.
Yeah. In private.
It is amazing how much these CDs go for. I mean, just for a
some
CD.
I know some of the.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was looking the other day. There's a band, a Swedish death metal band called God Macabre. Very much in the vein of Entombed, that Swedish HM2 pedal sound. You can buy the re-release on Relapse Records. Normal price £10-15. The original release, I forget the label, a very small label. It's just some initials like IMS or something like that. An original press of that is £400.
Holy,
nuts.
You know, it's mega money. It was obviously a short press back in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the money comes from. But you know, as much as I love to get an OG press, I would, and I was going to touch on this before about when Mike said that he put a bid in for £40 on the Old Lady Drivers record. As much as I want to pick up my Grails, and I know that you've got to pay a little bit more, you know, what amount of money do you pay for something without it getting to the point where you'd buy it, get it in your hands and think, I fucking paid too much for that.
Yeah.
I'm not happy now. You know, it kind of takes away the fun of that hunt. You know, if you won the lottery and you had £1 million, really, would you just go and buy all your Grails?
I don't think you would.
No, I don't either. I think you've got to find it for the right money. Mike's done, you know, I'm sure he could afford to buy that Old Lady Drivers, but you know how much you're willing to pay for it. And if you pay more than that, it spoils the lot for me. Spoils it all.
No, the most I've paid lately for a CD, not lately, but a few years ago, I paid 35 Canadian dollars for this. Mm-hmm. So what's 35 in pounds?
About 80.
20 pounds?
Yeah,
25. So that's 35 Canadian dollars for an original pressing. And, you know, I thought that was a deal for this album because it's hard to get. I mean, this
do you think?
This needs a reissue badly.
Yeah, why have they never reissued it? What is it about it? Is it on a different label or?
Yeah, it's on Blackheart Steamhammer, and the album prior to that was The Human Factor, which was still on Epic, and but even that hasn't had a proper CD reissue. It only has a reissue on Music on Vinyl. I mean, that's a hard album to find too on CD.
On CD,
you know, original press.
Mike's all jealous. Mike's looking for that.
Yeah, I'm looking for both of them.
But I think all these reissues that we hope for, I mean, I think they're just tied up in politics and who owns the rights to what, really.
Yeah, it's a shame when that happens.
Yeah. There must be a lot more going on behind the scenes with a lot of these releases than you think, because the amount of people that have been waiting on certain releases or who would pay straight away for these reissues, there must be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Well, there's a guy, the IRS label. The IRS label was owned by this rich tycoon, and his son inherited the label after he died. And along with the other things he inherited, this kid, well, this guy is like 50-year-old now, and he's a multi-millionaire, God knows how many times over. So, and he's got absolutely no interest in the record label. So the IRS stuff is just lying dormant. He's not remotely interested. And two releases off there, that Crow Molly that I'm struggling to get hold of, and Nuclear Assault Survive is on that. And Nuclear Assault applied to buy the rights back for Survive. And eventually this figure of 100,000 came back that they would have to pay for it because he's just not remotely interested. So I don't get it, because if he's not interested, why didn't he just sell it for something less than 100,000? But that was the amount that Nuclear Assault was quoted for Survive, 100,000. They're not going to get their money back.
You know what? I'll tell you why. Why? Because the guy obviously is not into music, and he has no idea, you know, what something like that would mean to someone like us. It would take some super fan to give the money to Nuclear Assault to be able to do something like that, because that guy doesn't give two shits about what we want. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't care, because that's probably a drop in the bucket. Like you said, he's multi-millionaire inheritance, whatever. But it's just too bad that it has to come to that, because I mean, that would be an album that I would absolutely love to own, which I still don't own that. You might as well put that on my Grail list. Nuclear Assault. I mean, on CD is $200.
I've just started buying bootlegs. I went and grabbed that bootleg of
there's something to be said for those, because they some of those Russian bootlegs, they do a real nice job on them. I mean, I know Mike's touched on it before, but you know, it looks good. They sound good. The good quality. If there are these OG presses that are out there for stupid money because they're not going to get a reissue, then these Russian ones aren't a bad idea.
The Russian ones are fantastic.
And you're not taking money out of the band's pocket either.
I got Badlands on a Russian boot, and then when I bought that 300 CDs last year off that bloke at the start of this year, or rather, one of the ones I got was the Badlands album. So I was finally able to see the real McCoy and the Russian boot, and the only difference was the thickness of the paper. Even the print quality wasn't any worse. It was just the thickness of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the original bootleg.
Yeah,
I have got the bootleg of that.
Well, that's what I've just bought. I bought it for.
And this is the only one I needed for my Death Angel collection, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go with the bootleg, and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I said to these guys a couple of days ago that was the last one I needed, and it got to the stage where I was looking on Discogs, and the prices are astronomical. So, I mean, I think I paid 12 quid delivered from Russia. Why not? It's not getting taken out the band's pocket. I mean, if they're not re-releasing it, then it's not. They're not. I'm not taking anything from them, so it's the only way I'm going to get it.
Yeah, but I like what Mark said. Even if you won the lottery, if I won 2 million Canadian dollars, I still wouldn't feel good about buying something that I think I've overpaid for. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not paying 200 Canadian dollars for this. No way. No thanks. But
but I mean,
it does. Paying over the odds for something just takes away that. As you well know, for a collector, the hunt for something is as good as the catch.
Absolutely,
me, it is.
The thrill of the chase.
And to pick up something for less than it's worth, that's what it's all about. You've got it for the right money. You kind of know you set yourself a little target of what you want to pay for it, and if you can get it for that, or even cheaper, that's the thrill of it. If
absolutely,
if money's no object, if you know that someone wants 200 quid for it and you've got 200 quid, you give it to him. I honestly think you'd get it, and you get it home and you look at it and it just wouldn't sit right with you. You think, nah. There was no hunt.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the satisfaction of getting it in the end.
It's
Absolutely,
like a sport, isn't it?
It's what?
It's like a sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like fishing, isn't it? Yeah, it's. I think even sometimes the hunt, like for you talking about the old lady drivers, that actually musically on that album it isn't all that.
It is not all that at all.
But it's one you want for the collection. It's an earache original press, and you want it. So the hunt is actually the best part of it. When you've caught it, you look at it, you play it, you put it away, and you've got it, which is a great feeling. But it's that hunt, the hunt for you to get that for 20 quid. That's what it's all about.
Put it this way, it's not going to compare to when I got that for 9 quid. And that's the first earache Mosh one. And I got that for 9 quid.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
No,
anything can compare to that.
That's the buzz of it, and you're hunting for it. You see that, you offer £9 or you get it for £9, and you know it's on its way to your house. Mosh won for £9.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling than that.
So here's a question then. What's the least you've paid for an album that you thought was going to be far higher? So the biggest gap, the biggest margin.
Wow.
Oh.
Good question. Yeah.
I'll leave
What
you with
about you,
that one.
Darcy?
I don't know. Let me think.
Yeah, let me have a look at that. I think
Well,
it's an album that I don't listen to very often. But I got this.
This is the only one I can think of.
This one. This is
Burzum. Oh, sorry, Mark. Go ahead. And what did you pay for that?
Called Philosophen. And it's an A5 book thing, little storybook on the inside. I think on Discogs it goes for over £100, and I paid £1 for that.
Wow.
Years and years ago, from there's some shops in the UK called cash converters, and they used to sell a lot of DVDs and CDs, and that was £1.
This one is
not something that I've listened to very often, but I knew it was worth a few quid, you know.
This one is King Diamond. It's a reissue of In Concert 1987. And these reissues from and their 1997 reissues, they're kind of hard to find nowadays. But I got this for $8 Canadian, and you can't find this one for less than probably $30. So that might be my biggest gap.
What about you, Andy?
Well, I think mine is probably this one. You kind of, it was a great question, Scott, but you kind of took us a bit by surprise by that one, I have to say. So, off the top of my head, I'm trying to figure out how much. Trying to remember how much I paid for this, but this is something. I mean, one of my favorite albums of all time, and one of the ones that I was looking out for a really long time. I think. I don't know. I still paid a decent amount for it, but I just expected to pay a lot more than I did to get like the original cover. So I got I think this cost me about 15 or 16 quid, which at the time certainly on things like eBay was going for 20 plus. So it's not like a big like I got it for a quid and what have you. But I also got a copy of the other cover, and it was going for peanuts. Like half the price, because everybody wants this cover if you got it on vinyl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably I probably got some much better examples, but you threw me with that one, Scott.
I've got another good example for you, and it seems right because we were talking about it before. But I bought that from a second-hand record shop probably in the late 90s for £5, and it's an original under one flag combat.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think I only paid 15 for it when I finally got it. Something like that.
But obviously at the time, again, I don't buy music because I don't look for something because I know it's going to be expensive, and I'm looking for I want that cheap because it's worth a fortune. If I don't like the music, I won't buy it. I'm not interested really, unless it came up like this for £1. And you think, well, I'll hang on to that. It's not. I think I've only ever listened to it once. Most of the time when I'm buying things like that, I'm buying it because I want it for myself, and I'm not gonna sell it. So I don't suppose it really matters what it is worth, but it's always nice to know that if you've picked up a CD that's worth 50 quid and you've only paid £5 for it, you've done something right, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going to happen, Darcy? What's going to happen to your collection?
Pardon?
what's going to happen to your collection at the end? Are you have you got plans for it, or are you going to die and leave that collection in someone else?
Exactly. And you know what? When I'm gone, I'm gone. How the hell am I going to worry about it? So, and I have more than a music collection. You know, like I said, I got hockey cards and other stuff that I've been collecting for years, and my kids will have to deal with it. And my oldest son is very, we'll call him thrifty. He absolutely is really good with money, and he'll be able to get maximum dollar and for whatever he's selling. But I'm going to hang on to this until I'm in the old folks home, whatever. I don't know. For the foreseeable future, you know, I mean, you're only as good as your health. And but I mean, let's say 10 years from now, I honestly hope to be still sitting here talking with you guys. I hope that all works out. I would absolutely love to come to the UK someday. You know, and I don't know how everybody feels about traveling and things right now. Right now, it's, you know, everything's up in the air, but as you know what, I don't think I'm going to change much in the next at least 10 years or so. I would, you know, I look at a guy on YouTube, Kevin WarGod61. He's still loving what he does, and if he buys a massive amount of albums, that's up to him. That's his business. And I just love that he still loves doing what he's doing at 61 years old. Not that that's old, but I'm just hoping that I get to keep doing this. But if something was to happen to me, you know, whatever, something happens and I pass away or something, my kids will deal with this. And I told my wife, this is not what you guys call car boot or garage sale. It's not garage sale material here, okay?
Yeah.
I would roll in my grave if you were to put this on the street for $1. You know what I mean? Like I would absolutely shit my pants. But anyways, I'm not going to worry. I don't worry about stuff like that.
I say the same to my wife.
About.
I tell her she can get a cruise out of it if when I'm dead. She sell it all, go on a cruise, enjoy it.
I've always been a guy that I don't really worry about things I can't personally control. So this is part of what goes along with my philosophy. I don't care what happens to it. I do and I don't. I mean, I'm gone. What am I going to do about it, right? So I'm going to enjoy it. Well, I'm going to enjoy the ride while it lasts. You know, I often reflect that, hey, you know what? I'm going to be 52 years old, but I still love the music, and that's all that counts to me. So,
yeah, damn right. I'm gonna have a massive big coffin that can get everything in.
Jesus.
And then, have you ever seen the cover of the film American Beauty when the woman's led surrounded by roses? Well, that's going to be me on my back with all my CDs around me, doing like those snow angels in the CDs. Just the last thing I ever do. No, it's I don't really think about anything like that, and if it's I've always told my missus, you know, it's worth a lot of money. So whatever happens to me, don't just whack it on eBay as a job lot for £100. You know, make sure.
Do you know what, Mark? You've just inspired me. I think when I go, I'm gonna get a coffin. I'm gonna get all my collection, put it in the coffin, get as much in as possibly can, especially the expensive stuff, bury it, and then I'll get cremated. That way, the collection is preserved forever. And
okay, I got a question for you guys. I got a question. Sorry, I got a question. Now that you touched on this whole death thing, have you thought, I know it's morbid, but I mean, I'm sure you've thought about what song would you like to play at your own funeral. I know it's shitty to think about, but would you consider a metal song?
Definitely.
You know this whole thing about not caring what happens when you die. What do you care what gets played because you can't hear it?
Well, come on. You might as well go out with a bang, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm sure I've thought about this, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now.
I got two.
Mm-hmm.
Megadeth, a Tula Mode, or Metallica, Fade to Black. Those are two I've always thought, you know what? I'm going out in style, whatever. You know, which one I'd pick, I have no whatever. But I mean, it's something that I've thought about. Like I said, as when you're talking about, you know, end of life or situations, but I have thought about it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
What about Testament? Do not resuscitate.
That's for my wife.
Maybe Anthrax, not Anthrax, Stormtroopers of Death, anti-procrastination song. That'll keep people going for about, 3 seconds.
I would hate to think what Mark says.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest, but I suppose my gut feeling is it'd have to be something of my own music, really. The last track on the Enchantment album, Meadows, is just a little instrumental piece. So yeah, maybe go with that.
Oh, you're so vain, Mark.
At least those, yeah. The thing is, I didn't write it though, so I suppose
that could be the walkout music.
Yeah. It's a question. Next time we're on here, Darcy, we'll all have proper answers for that question. Good call.
I don't know what I'd pick. It would definitely be a metal song. I'd want people like in the crematorium or wherever I am. People going, like having a smile and like laughing at each other, going, "This is exactly what
you could have the intro to Fast as a Shark on the way in, you know, as you arrive in.
Yeah.
That'll put a smile on people's faces.
Yes.
Yeah, something because of the way I am, I wouldn't want people sitting there all depressed and crying. I'd want people to be like laughing and like nudging each other, going, you know what I mean? That's the best way I think for me.
It'd have to be my side, wouldn't it?
I'd have a photo. That'd be the photo for them going in on like the easel of me going. Something like that.
Good question, though. You should have prepared us for that one, though.
There's been a few spur of the moment ones there.
Sorry.
What it's all about. We've done all right though, there, guys. 2 hours and 12 minutes. Considering we said we'll try and keep this to an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was always going to be this case with us chatterboxes, wasn't it?
I know, but no, we did well there.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
You've been an excellent guest, Darcy. And we thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much for taking part.
Well, yeah, hopefully I didn't lower your ratings, boys. Sorry about that if I did.
Oh, we took that into account anyway.
We couldn't have gone much lower, so you
I know. You must have. Everyone else must have been busy tonight.
It's been a real pleasure, Darcy. It's like we were saying earlier, considering this is like the first time I suppose all five of us have ever sat down in one place, if you will, to chat. It certainly does feel like a bunch of old mates, to be honest, talking about music, and that's the beauty of it and the beauty of the community.
I absolutely very thankful that you guys invited me. I want to thank just anybody that takes the time out of their day to watch us or hit the comment section. I look forward to that just as much as I do making a video, to be honest with you. And and getting to know people on even on a personal level. I mean, we all have things that go on in our lives that no one even sees. You know, they see us on camera for 10, 15 minutes every week or whatever, but we don't know what's going on with some people, and it's really nice to be able to get to know these people, and I absolutely love it, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, and just thanks everyone for watching. We're getting some good feedback up on the screen right now, so thanks everyone for tuning in.
Okay, so we'll close it out here now then, guys, and yeah, thanks everyone for watching. It's been a great turnout tonight. I really enjoyed it. I think we've done a great job, don't you guys?
Yeah, I feel very pleased with how we've handled things.
Everybody's life.
Very professional, gentlemen. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's watching, everyone who has watched. Thanks for the comments, guys. It's what it's all about. Take care. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Bye now.
Cheers, guys.
Boom.